Welcome back to NSP, everybody. We are back at you with some more NFL news this Monday. Nate Dogg's in the chat. We got Vincent here. We got AJ here. I'm here. We're in store for a great stream today, guys. But before we get anywhere, guys, we have to address the elephant in the room. Vincent, AJ, how was your day yesterday? It was the first Sunday without any football. What'd you do?
That was the first Sunday without football?
That was the first Sunday without football.
Man, I couldn't tell, man. My football season's been over for a little while now.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was just another Sunday for me.
Oh, okay. How about you, Vincent?
I trapped myself in a cave and I didn't want to come out.
Oh, okay. Interesting move. Okay. Well, I got a lot of stuff done, so I was happy. The one thing I don't like about football Sundays is that I get nothing done nowadays. Now I have to pay attention to all the games. But Nate Dogg is watching the Daytona 500 during Sunday. That's awesome, man. I've never watched an actual racing, whatever you call it, a race. I guess I don't know, guys.
NASCAR,
but there's different racing types. There's like F1 and stuff like that.
Yeah, Daytona's NASCAR though, I think for sure.
Yeah, Daytona's NASCAR. I'm almost sure about that.
Come on, Reed.
I'm sorry, my bad.
Complex track that they have there for the Daytona.
Okay, my bad.
Yeah,
but currently, I'm watching the NHL All-Star Weekend or whatever you want to call it. But they're having the nation's face-off right now, and it's incredible, man. Watching that made me want to get back into hockey, so I'm a hockey guy now. All right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
wow.
I'm in hockey. Even though my team is absolute booty cheeks, the Blackhawks, I'm ready to be a hockey guy again.
Oh, I don't watch enough.
Yeah. Nate Dogg says LOL was my first race I watched too. Maybe I got to get into it, man. We all got an itch right now in our lives that we have to satisfy. Either you're an NBA fan, you're an NHL fan, but without football, you got to find that itch. You got to get something out. This is not a proud story, but when it was COVID and there was no sports, I watched marble racing.
Dude, those are cool.
Marbles
those
racing.
Are cool.
Okay.
The narrator, the commentator, incredible. Let me tell you, I was all in it for the. I think it was whatever the green marble was. That was my team. Yeah,
it was rigged.
Yeah, for sure. But let's get into the topics, guys. So Nate Dogg hits us with our first topic of the day. Thoughts on the T. Higgins franchise tag. So it was released today that T. Higgins might get a second franchise tag on top of the one he got already. So he got franchise tag last year, didn't get the big contract that he wanted, and there's a chance that the Bengals are not ready to move on from T. Higgins and want to keep him and try to keep this offense together, and they might franchise tag him again. I'm kind of iffy about it. In my opinion, I think the Bengals don't need help on offense. I think they could draft a wide receiver or develop the current guys they have underneath T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and still be a really good offense. I think they need to invest in two areas. One, obviously their entire defense. You got to also keep Trey Hendrickson on that defense. He's a huge part of why that defense didn't get blown out completely every single game. But also you need to always invest in your offensive line, always. So I think you should say goodbye to T. Higgins personally. Don't franchise tag him. Don't sign him to a long-term deal and move on. You already got one wide receiver one, the better one. Sign him to his big contract and move on from T. Higgins. Vincent, AJ, what are your thoughts, man?
Well, of course they don't want to move on from T. Higgins, but this is not necessarily an A.J. Brown, but this is an A.J. Brown type situation, right? A.J. Brown's been wanting that big contract or he wants to get traded. And here's T. Higgins, right? Yes, he's not Jamar Chase, but he has the capability of being a top-tier wide receiver in most teams in the NFL. Now, he's not going to get that with the Cincinnati Bengals, so he knows he's not going to get paid. That's why he's requesting a trade. And of course, the Cincinnati Bengals can't afford to get rid of him. They just got rid of Tyler Boyd, which, yeah, his career kind of dwindled down after leaving Cincinnati. But T. Higgins is still very, very young, very explosive. And without him, I mean, it makes the offense kind of obvious. You're going to double team Jamar Chase all day. And what else do you have? The run game? Chase Brown, I don't know how long he's going to last next year, but I think you already lost T. Higgins, right? You franchise tag him again. He doesn't want to be there. He's not playing to his fullest potential. He wants out. He's not going to be your franchise guy.
Interesting. I just want to run numbers a little bit. So if he is to get franchise tagged, it's going to be in the ballpark of $26.1 million, which would make him the 10th highest paid wide receiver off of just the franchise tag. I'm not 100% sure if they get the entire franchise tag or how
it's fully guaranteed.
Fully guaranteed.
Franchise tag.
Awesome. So right now, the person that he'd be right under, or like you can kind of say basically tied, he'd be tied with Cooper Kupp, even though Cooper Kupp's contract is, kind of on the downturn right now. But Cooper Kupp gets paid $26.7 million per year. And this would put T. Higgins above guys like Devontae Smith, Nico Collins, DK Metcalf, Deebo Samuel, Michael Pittman, Calvin Ridley, Terry McLaurin. All guys that I think he's like pretty much on par with or a little bit better. So obviously this is kind of what T. Higgins wants to get paid, if not a little bit more, closer to the 30 million range, where he would be against Brandon Ayuk, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, Amon-Ra St. Brown, all that type of stuff. Again, I don't think he's that type of wide receiver, so I understand why Cincinnati does not want to pay him that type of money, since they also have to pay Jamar Chase, just like Reed said. So this is a very interesting situation. I think I agree with AJ here that T. Higgins is kind of just ready to get out of Cincy. He wants to get a big bag. He probably doesn't think that he's going to get anything done there with the Bengals the way that they've been churning. Yeah, they had a good portion of the last part of the season, but what else have they done within his time there in the Cincinnati Bengals, besides that one Super Bowl kind of appearance? But then again, he was a really young wide receiver then. Hasn't really gotten back to that peak. So if I were T. Higgins, I would try my best to get out of that franchise tag in whichever way I could, negotiate with Cincinnati Bengals and the organization as much as he can with his agent. But at the end of the day, I think he's going to probably be on another team starting the year.
Yeah, I was going to say that. So the people who are watching this video could also realize, like, hey, this does not mean that he's going to be stuck with the Bengals next season. There's still a way for him to get traded for another team to acquire him. Now, this is where the fun part gets, right? This is super fun.
Okay.
Bengals, they had to make a choice, right? They had to franchise tag him, because if not, there's more leadway and they don't have a lot of leverage. So now that they franchise tagged him, these teams are on the hot.
They haven't yet. They haven't franchise tagged him yet.
Oh, they haven't?
No, it's just news that they most likely will.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, even if he did get franchise tag, he's still out there. He still can be available for other teams. So what team would like to see T. Higgins in, and what team can he really help out? I have one team in mind, but I'm just not totally committed just yet. I think it will end his career. I'm thinking the Tennessee Titans.
Oh boy.
I would love to see T. Higgins. I know, because Rave is all about T. Higgins to the Titans, T. Higgins to the Titans. Either him or they're at Tennessee or maybe New England. I think that would be a sight to see. But also another way for him to end his career, not as high risk as Tennessee, because I do like Drake May, and I can't wait to see what Rabel does over there in New England. But I would love to hear what other people think where T. Higgins is going to go.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams floating out there. Whenever a big name wide receiver is on the market, almost every single team is throwing their team in the hat. Trying to get the guy. I know people are putting the Packers in there for T. Higgins. I'm like, no, I don't want it. Don't, please. I don't want that. I don't want the drama. I don't like the wide receiver ones out there. I'd rather just have young guys personally. The young guys who drop the balls, right?
They're made out of glass as well.
Yeah, made out of glass, who drop all the balls, who stop us from being great, unfortunately. But it'll be interesting for sure to see where he goes, because I do think, like you guys are saying, that even if he does get franchise tagged, he can just change his bio on his Instagram or something, or take away all of the Bengals photos on his Instagram, those type of things, and start forcing his way out of there, where they have to trade him, and then he can go to another team and get his big bag. I do think he would like to stay with the Bengals if they were able to pay him the amount of money he wants to get paid. I think he would like to stay with Joe Burrow, with Chase, and do something great there with the Bengals. But I think he also realizes if he wants to get the bag, he's got to have to leave, unfortunately, which sucks, Any other last comments you guys would like to make before we move on?
Possibility or a hell no. Living here in Texas, I hear this all the damn time. T. Higgins is obviously going to the Dallas Cowboys to help out CeeDee Lamb.
That would be interesting.
Is that a possibility or is that a hell no?
It would be a very big change from how Jerry Jones attacked last offseason. So
huge, yeah.
It would be a very big change. And after just paying CD and having to currently try to figure out a contract for Micah Parsons, I think that's really hard to see, in my opinion. It's possible, hard to see.
Yeah, pretty crazy. I just want to make one more comment, too. I don't think he's going to go to the Dallas Cowboys. But this is an interesting thing that I found about the non-exclusive tag that they're going to sign him on. Basically, the non-exclusive tag is worth either the average of the top 5 salaries of that player at the position over the past 5 years. Mm-hmm. So the top 5 salaries over all the top 5 wide receivers over the past 5 years, or 120% of that player's previous salary. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, I didn't know that about the non-exclusive and exclusive tag. So just some tidbits out there for y'all who don't know.
For sure. So that's before we move on to our next topic. Vincent, I have a question for you. Okay. Did you kill your fish again, dude? Why is it black?
Oh, gosh.
Oh, I don't have the light on.
No, it's black, Vince.
My fish aren't in there, bro.
It's a swamp.
It's a swamp.
You know where my fish are, Reed.
Vince, you killed him again, didn't you?
No, you can't kill a fish again. It's either dead or it's alive.
You killed them again.
I mean, the way you run your deck, you reanimate, from the graveyard.
I don't have any fish in there, though.
Okay.
Oh.
It says they're all dead.
Exactly. Sure, but
all right. Let's move on. Let's go to the topic of this video, guys. As the guy who loves Aaron Rodgers the most, even though I have attacked him many times, or I like to put that on the record, I have attacked him many times on this podcast. And today, that's still my favorite quarterback of all time. In my opinion, the greatest thrower of the football. Not the greatest quarterback of all time. I will have to concede that. Oh, we got Darth J coming up. Oh, boy. But I will say he is my favorite quarterback of all time. Aaron Rodgers, if you guys have not heard yet, this is way too dark, AJ. That's way too dark.
There's a reason. There's a reason for it.
Okay. Okay. I understand.
You know what it is, yeah.
I know it is. I'll just keep talking. So if you've been living underneath a rock, this is the first time you're going to hear this news. Aaron Rodgers has not officially been cut from the Jets because they're waiting for the new league year, but he will be cut from the New York Jets. They decided to move on from him and say he is no longer their quarterback for the future. They're looking to the future now. Now, what that future is for the Jets, we have no idea, but we know it's not Aaron Rodgers. Okay.
We also know it's not good.
Also true because it's the Jets. Let's be honest. But from what I've heard, he went to New York so they could talk it out and see what they could do to make this work. Aaron Rodgers, from the reports I have heard, had pleaded with them to let him stay and be the quarterback for the next 2 years. That's the report I heard today, that he pleaded and wanted to desperately be the quarterback and try. I don't know what plead means, but you can make your own thoughts about it. But
I'm sorry I got Robert Saleh fired. It was me. I was the problem.
Woody Johnson got him fired.
Nah, dude.
Woody Johnson is the problem.
No.
Woody Johnson's the problem of the Jets. Okay, let's stay focused though.
Okay, we're staying focused. We're staying focused.
So Aaron Rodgers is no longer New York Jets because he is I forget the exact terminology for it, but even though he's not been cut yet, he is allowed to start talking to teams, I've heard. I forget why, because I think it's because he's like a long-term veteran or something like that. He is allowed to start talking to teams, or they've allowed it. I don't know how it works. But he can start talking to teams and figure out where he wants to go. There's a lot of teams out there that have been suggested for him. And there's not a lot of situations that make a whole lot of sense for Aaron Rodgers and for the teams that would be maybe even potentially interested in signing this guy. I'm going to let the other guys talk first before I give my thoughts, because I know AJ's really excited about this one, apparently. But the question is, guys, where do we think Aaron Rodgers goes? What are our current thoughts about Aaron Rodgers? Give it to me. I'm going to let AJ go first so he can get out of the darkness.
So I'm doing my darkness retreat, not totally because then you guys wouldn't see me at all. But if you guys have been watching this show, then many of you have known that I have turned a new leaf. Okay. I am no longer anti-J. Okay. I am King J. And I see the ways of the force that Aaron Rodgers goes through. Okay. I've searched up witches and witchcraft and weird shrooms and becoming one with the ocean to learn and better knowledge myself of how Aaron Rodgers lives and how he works, and I totally understand, man. Peace, love, and all that jazz. I want the best for him. That's what I want.
Okay.
People are saying he's going to the Cowboys because I live in Texas and that's all I hear. It happens. Okay. It's real. As a Niners fan, I say, hell no, I do not want Aaron Rodgers anywhere close to the team that I love, which is the Niners, of course, yes. Right? Yep. But I didn't know that part where you're talking about, Reed, that he pleaded for his job.
Yes, that's reports. Who knows if that's true?
That kind of changes my perspective if that is true. If that is true, but obviously, I don't think he's going to have a hard time finding a job. I mean, he's Aaron Rodgers. He's won MVPs, won Super Bowls. I mean, he still has his past, right? If Russell Wilson could go out there and find a job, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to find a job. But I think his biggest issue is himself. I don't think he's going to find a job in Pittsburgh, per se, right? Mike Tomlin, I don't think that attitude of Aaron Rodgers is going to fly. He's going to have to go with an inexperienced coach or with a coach who's open to change, right? Mike Vrabel, I don't know. Maybe, but I don't know. I don't think he will, right? You got to go to a team who's somewhat there, but also like not fully. I don't know if I'm making any sense here.
No, you're making sense.
He's in that gray spot, right? Because when you compare Aaron Rodgers to anyone, you really can't, because his gameplay is one thing and his personality is another thing. And I know those two things should not clash, but in today's NFL, it does. So finding him a home, that's going to be extremely difficult. And maybe he follows his legacy.
I don't know.
And goes to Minnesota.
I will actually throw a fit.
Would you? Would you really throw a fit?
Yeah.
I think that'd be a great fit, honestly. I think that would be huge for Minnesota.
I would be so angry.
It would be interesting because Minnesota is also a prime candidate to franchise tag Sam Darnold. I think their franchise tag would be $41 million. Do I think they could get Aaron Rodgers cheaper than that? Probably. But in my opinion, I mean, I've also turned a new leaf, and it's the opposite of AJ. I used to kind of be okay with Aaron Rodgers and say that, yeah, here and there he's a little bit of a drama queen, everything like that. But now he's a full-blown, just toxic presence in a locker room. I mean, we saw everything that happened with the Jets. As soon as Aaron Rodgers got there, it was just a downpour of negativity. Aaron Rodgers brings that, and for some reason, I just don't like it. So I've also heard rumors like AJ has about his team too, Aaron Rodgers coming to the Seahawks, and I totally hate that. I want that to be debunked 100% because I would never want to see that ever. But I just don't know where he's going to find a job. Of course, he could find a job on a needy team that just needs somebody to back up somebody. The only other place I could think about it is him going to the Kansas City Chiefs. Be pretty cool, I guess. But I could see him going to the Raiders if Pete Carroll really wanted to. I could also just see him being on the free agency for just a little bit until a team needs him. But in my opinion, I just don't know. So I'm not too high on Rodgers going anywhere and playing. I wouldn't mind if I don't see him play at all. So yeah, but
Where'd he go?
That's just my opinion.
Wow. Okay.
You saw it? Yeah.
Yeah, I just saw it.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, so I'll first start off and say, one, he will not be a backup. Aaron Rodgers is not a backup. He's not capable of being a backup. A backup needs to be quiet. He is nothing about quiet over these past few years, okay? He is not a backup. I think he would much rather just hang up the boots than become a backup of a team. Don't see it at all right? Now, where I land on, like, should Aaron Rodgers be on a team or whatever you want to say, I have to ask myself two questions, okay? First question is, and Vince, I hope you would agree with me on this one, is Aaron Rodgers one of the best, currently, 32 quarterbacks in the league? I think yes. One of the best 32 quarterbacks.
Yeah, the quarterback rooms are not very strong, so yeah, he is.
Currently, one of the best 32 quarterbacks.
One of the best 32, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. You can put him wherever you want in there. He's one of the best 32.
Yeah,
now, the second question, the more important question, and this is the answer I'm going to say no to, is Aaron Rodgers one of the top 32 quarterbacks with the best upside? Aaron Rodgers does not have an upside, unfortunately. There is no upside to signing Aaron Rodgers. You're not going to sign him to your team and be a quarterback away and think you're just going to win the Super Bowl. I find that very hard to believe. Maybe the year off the injury will help him be better or whatever, but I don't see an upside with Aaron Rodgers coming to any team and being their starter. There is no upside. He is a media distraction at this point of his career. I think he's still a decent leader. I don't think his leadership is perfect at times, 100%. I think he's more of a distraction and a short-term solution and a bridge quarterback. The only way I see teams signing him is if he's willing to take a major pay cut. I'm talking under $30 million he needs to get paid. At least. He needs to be paid less than that. He needs to be willing to take a pay cut, and as the quarterback that has, or the all-time most earning player of all time, I think he should, I don't know if he will, be willing to take a pay cut for a team to continue playing if he decides to. I don't really see a team out there that would be willing to take him. The only teams I can really think of are the Titans, maybe, the Saints, the Raiders, and the Giants. Those four teams. I think there's a possibility he would stay in New York and become a Giant. Those were my four options where I think he could land. I don't like the Steelers option because, yes, I think him and Tomlin respect each other a lot. I just don't see them meshing well. And I think they would rather go another year with Justin Fields or Russell Wilson than going and bringing a new guy into that offense, expecting it to all work.
Yeah.
I think currently he should hang it up and call it a career.
Yep.
Yes.
Me too.
As a guy who loves Aaron Rodgers, he's my favorite quarterback of all time. I think there's nobody who's ever thrown a football better than Aaron Rodgers. I think he should hang it up and call it a career before his career is not tarnished, in my opinion, but the specialness of his career has definitely waned over the past couple of years. What do you guys think?
I think I may have said this maybe Vincent 2 years ago,
Yeah.
and I don't know. We were wrong then, right?
Hey,
98%.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I thought 100% after that injury that he had to his Achilles, him rushing back was just not the best decision for him. Yes, getting a new type of surgery, and he played the season fairly healthily, but just didn't play well. So yes, they always say you need at least a year after your injury, a full total year to get everything back under you. But this year just didn't really pan out for him the way he wanted, the way he was expected to play after coming back from injury. And yeah, I think he should hang it up. I don't think he'll tarnish his career. I just think it'll make him look silly of trying to keep it going when he knows. I think he knows that he doesn't have it anymore. He's not in his physical peak shape. Yes, he takes care of his body like everybody does in the NFL who has money, especially him. But he's also out there too much in the media doing his own thing. I think he's, too focused on that. And we've seen it with a lot of people who focus more on their appearance, doing Netflix shows, trying to make their presence known, making a few brandings here and there, getting on all these talk shows and sports media type shows. And I think he should be done. I think that's where, if he wants to move in that direction where he's on all these sports shows, all these podcasts, and that's what he should do. That's what makes him happy. But right now, football, I know for sure 100% does not make him happy like it did before. So
I don't think he's going to go to any sports show. I highly doubt that. He's said multiple times that once he calls it a career, it's going to be, you'll never see him again, as AJ is very excited about. You'll see him for when he gets inducted to the Hall of Fame, when he gets inducted into the Packers Hall of Fame, when they retire his number. You'll see him then, but he said he's just going to disappear off the face of the earth. I don't think he wants to join the media out there that's just been tarnishing his name and calling him a bunch of stuff over the past couple of years. I don't think he's willing to join those people.
I don't think he would join him, but I think there's a possibility where he might do his own thing, because he also said in that 3-hour long interview that I wasted my life for, that he was afraid of being forgotten about after he's done throwing the ball.
Mm-hmm. He's going to do
that was anti-Rodgers.
That was his thought process, right? Pros and cons.
So, I don't think he's done in the face of football. I highly doubt that. I highly, highly doubt that this guy who's been the way he has been the past 5 years is just going to be like, oh yeah, football's done. I'm going to go fall off the face of the earth. That's not him.
Yeah.
Not his personality whatsoever, from what I've seen.
That's what he says every single time on the Pat McAfee show.
And he still goes back on the Pat McAfee show. So.
It's very rare now. Something happened, right, between Aaron Rodgers and Pat McAfee show.
Yeah, he's still on pretty frequently, or no?
Not as frequently as he
only
used
during
to.
the season. He goes on once a week.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, in my opinion, I think he should hang it up. Going to any of these teams, he's not winning a Super Bowl. They're not getting anything out of it other than a bridge quarterback. And out of bridge quarterbacks you could choose from, I don't know if he's worth it, unfortunately. So I don't
probably not.
I don't know if there's a right situation out there for both him and a team that could sign him. I don't think there's a right situation. Unless he's willing to become a backup, which I just don't see. I don't see him as a backup.
Imagine, I think he would have to become a backup at a place where he could end up possibly starting. Like, they would have to offer him like the opportunity to possibly start at one point in the season.
I just don't see it. I mean, like, AJ, imagine Aaron Rodgers as your backup quarterback.
Yeah, it'd be kind of weird.
It's just weird. And the worst part about it is if Brock Purdy even throws a single interception, put Aaron Rodgers in. Put him in. Put him in. That's what everybody's going to say. Yeah. And it creates a situation you just don't want. It's like, you want a good backup quarterback for sure, but you don't want your current quarterback to be questioned. Is he the right quarterback every step of the way, you know?
Yeah, I went through that 2 years ago and 3 years ago with
Yep.
Jimmy G and Trey Lance. And I wanted Trey Lance in. I mean, it created a divide in the fan base, and that does take a toll as far as the fans, not so much the team. But you never know what goes on in that locker room. I think the closest thing that we ever saw to that was maybe Cam Newton, backing up mac and cheese, or maybe I'm not going to say Joe Flacco, Matt Ryan
Mhm.
being a backup as well. It's just weird, right? You don't expect that, and it doesn't last long either. So especially with someone as high as caliber as Aaron Rodgers, which those other two guys that I mentioned are not even close to what Aaron
Mhm.
Rodgers has done in his career or who he is today. I just, like you said, I just don't see it happening. It's like saying Bill Belichick's going to be a defensive coordinator. You just don't see it happening.
Yeah. How do you stand up in the room and say you're the head coach when there's Bill right over there?
Yeah.
How do you command the room? Everybody's looking at Bill. All right. But I think that's enough Aaron Rodgers talking. I think we can all agree on that, right?
Oh yeah.
All right. So let's go on to, I'd say, our last topic for the day. The Eagles. They're currently on their victory lap still. They're talking a lot. They're doing a whole bunch of stuff right now. But most important thing for them right now is how do we do that again? Because I know they got a taste of it. They would definitely want to try to repeat that. So how do you think the Eagles get back to the Super Bowl next year? Vincent?
I think they need another pass catcher. They really want to get back there. The pass was not very good in any of their playoff games, pretty much. Here and there, Devontae Smith would go off, but then A.J. Brown would disappear. Goddard is getting up there a little bit in age. I think he's in his high 20s, 29, almost probably 30, I think. I could be mistaken there, so don't quote me on that. But Goddard really wasn't a pass catching presence. Devontae Smith, when he was, A.J. Brown wasn't. So I think they need a tertiary guy. And right now, I don't think it's Jahan Dotson. So I think they tried it out to see if maybe he could be that source of, reprieve from those guys if they didn't have a good game. But really, they couldn't find anybody. Yeah, they run the ball probably more than 50% of the time, a whole bunch more than everybody else combined in the league, basically. But if they want to get back there, of course, you would want them to retain all their guys, get better in the draft, as everybody would most likely say. But they need a guy to take some more heat off of the guys that they have. A.J. Brown wants a whole bunch of money. They're most likely going to try to sign him this season. Devontae Smith is most likely going to be pretty happy for another few years. I think he just got signed a little while ago.
Mm-hmm.
So they need to get a tertiary guy in there pretty easily and pretty soon, just in case something doesn't go well with the A.J. Brown signing. And then he already seemed unhappy after the Super Bowl win. Says he wants to be the center of attention. He says he wants to have the stats. He doesn't care about the win.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to feel like he actually contributed to the win. So, in my opinion, another pass catcher would free him up and hopefully help him do that and make everybody happy. So that's how I think they make it back.
I think that's very smart, Vince, because who wants that type of person on their team? I mean, you just won the Super Bowl, right? The highest caliber accomplishment in the NFL. And I don't know if it's the highest, right? You could win the MVP of the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
But listen, dude, it's a team sport. It's not all about you. Yeah, you got your way when you're at Tennessee. You got traded to the Eagles, and it paid off because you won a Super Bowl. Congratulations, you won that trade. That's set in stone. But if you're going to go back on your team and not be happy, at least not act happy for everyone else because of personal reasons, I think that's full. I think it's crap. I really do. I don't like that at all. And if I'm not mistaken, Vincent, I do believe A.J. Brown and Smith are both committed for the next 4 years. Now, of course,
Oh.
it's insane. Reed and I looked it up earlier this season. But I mean, does it mean that AJ Brown wouldn't request a trade or request more money or hold out, whatever you wanted, to have a contract bump, right? But I don't like that at all. For me, if I was the Eagles and if I was a fan of the Eagles, they dominated in the NFL. It was straight up domination. I would try to focus on depth. And I would also try to focus on young talent so that they don't become irrelevant in the next 2 years, right? Defense was stellar, but you got a lot of older guys on that defense, right? I'm not talking about like Cooper DeJean and all that. You do have some old heads on that defense who play really well. Why not draft some more corners? Why not draft some more defensive line? You can never go wrong with D-line. You recovered your O-line pretty well, but if you want to continue to be relevant, continue to be dominant, then you got to have some bench. You got to have some depth to be able to play consistently and not having to worry about injuries like the Detroit Lions, right? That killed the Detroit Lions. Their defense was shot, and something like that happens to the Eagles, then are we going to see the Eagles in the Super Bowl? I don't think so. Another thing, too, is that Eagles capitalized perfectly. I mean, they went and they dominated their division. I'm not going to say totally, right, because Washington looked really good, but that was a very young team. It was Jaden Daniels' rookie season, but they dominated the Cowboys. They dominated the Giants, which that's expected, and it is expected to go on next year again. Washington, they just get better. They're not going to get worse, right? They're going to be getting better next year. More experience, super young team. If they get a couple of good draft picks, especially in defense, this team's dangerous, right? But then you also had banged up teams, right? You had the Detroit Lions, shot defense. You had the San Francisco 49ers. 90% of their team was freaking gone. You had the Green Bay Packers. Wide receivers down, right? You took advantage of the NFC and you capitalized on it. So good for you. Getting back to the championship game is not going to be a cakewalk. I don't care how many people say the NFC is not as tough as the AFC. I think it is. I really think it is. We just don't have the flashy quarterbacks that the AFC has. But when you look at a team, we look at a football team, that's the NFC. So I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park for the Philadelphia Eagles. Good for them. I don't like how AJ Brown's going about it. Congratulations to you. Well deserved of a win. You're a freak athlete. But I just don't like that whole personality from Philadelphia. But I really don't want them to go to the Super Bowl. Can they? Yes, they can. But do I want them to? Hell no.
All right. Caleb's in the chat. What is up, Caleb? Great to have you in the chat, man. He says NFL sucks, crying emoji. I don't think it sucks. I think there's some good content out there in the NFL, and I will never say it sucks. I think there's things that could be better. But back to the topic. I like everything you guys are saying. Pass catcher. I'm blanking right now what AJ said, but everything you guys are saying is really good. But me, I'm looking at a completely different perspective than you guys. We saw last year what they were when they didn't have good coordinators. They instantly had that fall off the end of the year, and they ended up firing both of those guys, hire Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore this season, and instantly they're the best team in the NFL. And as AJ said, they dominated the NFL this year. Kellen Moore is now the Saints head coach. They now have an offensive coordinator vacancy. I think that's the most important thing to get right this offseason is the offensive coordinator position. Now, there's a lot of different guys out there that they could look at. To name a few, Frank and Vincent, you got to help me. I always mispronounce his name. Reich or Reich? What is his?
Frank Reich.
Frank Reich. There's Josh McCown. There's Mike LaFleur. There's Ken Dorsey, Jim Caldwell. There's a lot of different guys that they could look at. And I'm gonna be honest about this offensive coordinator position. This is one of the probably easiest offensive coordinator positions out there because you got the best offensive line in the league and you got Saquon Barkley. Your job's pretty easy when you can just call run plays all day long. Now, I do think they need to get it right, though. This is a position they cannot get wrong. I think Nick Sirianni is a good coach. I think he's a good head coach, but I think he needs the right coordinators underneath him to do it correctly. It's just like I think of MCDC. I think he's a good head coach, but he needs the right coordinators underneath him to do it correctly. It is so key for them to get it correctly. Jalen Hurts has constantly got a new coordinator after new coordinator after new coordinator almost every single year of his career. To get him a correct one as he learns of probably another new offense this offseason, I think is so critical for the team. Yes, you got to keep the team together. You got to think about new pass catchers, all these other things, keep the defense together, all this different stuff. But this coaching position, I think, is so important for them.
It also hurts that they won the Super Bowl.
Yes.
I will say prior time, they were able to recover because they didn't make it that far. And it sucks for teams that make it to the Super Bowl because they have the last pick. All right. Other teams, it's like a Shark Tank, man. They grab their coordinators, they grab the best possible guys out there. And then the teams that go to the Super Bowl or go far in the playoffs, they're left with whoever's left. I do agree that there's a couple good names out there. But also, you still got to think about the cap, right? You got to pay these coaches, and you got to think of opportunity. For some reason, I thought Frank Reich was a head coach out there in college. But if he is out there, if he is available, then good for them. But I do think offensive, defensive, all types of coordinators are very important. I mean, I could preach about my team. I love Kyle Shanahan, but as soon as we lost our offensive coordinator, where he doesn't have another ear or mouth in his ear, there's a big difference, right? When you don't have the right defensive coordinator, you go from the 3rd-ranked defense of the league to, the 28th ranked defense of the league. There's a huge difference out there. So, yes, very important, and it does play a factor having good coordinators.
100%. Head coach can't do it all. He sets the culture, sets the game plan, but you need all the guys underneath to get it done correctly. Any other last points you guys would like to make before we end it off? All right. Well, I think we're going to end this right here. For everybody who's tuned in, we appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be live again next Monday, 7 p.m. So make sure you guys stay tuned to that one. Until then, we may release a few videos depending on what type of news drops out there. But stay tuned to Everything NSP by hitting that subscription button. Always hit that like button if you guys are enjoying the video, which I know you are because this is great content. And as always, until next time, keep on grinding.